Oh, I know you're here for it. We grew up in the Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant era. Let's just park that there and end the video because that's really it. You want the smoke? They had the smoke. They brought the smoke. They're two of the goats of all time that we're talking here, just amongst others. And having that Mamba mentality principle, that's a no-brainer why I love my generation and the people that come from that generation. I had to write this down, folks, otherwise I'm going to be all over the map. Your word was your bond. When you look someone in the eye and you talk to them and you promise them something, or there's an action item and you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you would be held accountable. The other person that you're shaking hands with, they will let you know. And you know what? When you see each other in the community down the road in the future at some event, and it was a small world in our era, meaning that we would know each other's business and we would keep it real with each other too. You would know who's lying and who's not. Your reputation went a long way. Your reputation would have credibility and carry a lot of weight. Not today's climate, man. It's just all over the place, right? It's weak. Let me just say that. We knew how to make great conversations. Like, you could put us anywhere. Like, you could just give us a mat under a tree. I mean, these are quality, in-depth, life-changing conversations that's money. Like, we would add to each other's lives, walking away like, man, that was fulfilling. That touched my soul. That made me grow. That actually taught me something about life. Not today's culture. It's not even close. Y'all don't even know how to make a conversation, let alone show up to something. I mean, we would never flake. Gen Xers, we don't flake. When we say we show up, when I say I have your back, you best believe that I'm going to have your back. And it's not having your back like I'm in and out, or 10 minutes and I got to run, bro, sis, buddy, bro, whatever. We would go the extra mile to sit by you, sit next to your bed, sit next to you until you were legit 200%, let alone being 100%. We want to make sure you are 200% good before we leave you and say, you know what, cool. If we had differences, none of that weak-ish soft era stuff. We would take it to the backyard. And I say this in other videos, we would duke it out. We would fight. We would have a bunch of our boys, at least in my boys, like us men, we would pick a time. Oh man, we used to say this quite a bit. Pick a time, mofo. Time, place, mofo. Bring your boys, I bring my boys. One-on-one, no one jump in. Let him fight. And you know what? Those fights would go on for a while. Either that fight was over quickly, or we would just run out of gas and it would be just wild swinging until we just realized that, hey, we need to shake hands because we're tired. Or someone would get knocked the F out. That, like, it was that black and white. And then we would shake hands and become some of the greatest friends or never speak to each other. But the difference was settled. The difference was settled. And that made you a man. That made you a real man. I don't care what this generation says. Some of those teachings are well with me today. And I can still do all of that stuff based on the martial arts background. And that's why I'm a little bit calmer today. But I just had to put that out there. That's how we settled our differences. We used to have pages. We didn't have this internet climate. And I love the digital culture today. But we had pages. Think about that. We actually had to make an effort to text, which wasn't even a text. We needed a phone. We could text, we could page from a landline, and you would get, if you had a pager, you would get that message. And it was a page of codes. So number 3 was the letter E. The @ symbol was a letter A. The letter I was, number 1. So you get the point. But we used to code. Like, that's smarter than this generation. It actually made you think and get creative on how to communicate. It made you make an effort. And then you had to find a payphone. Who remembers payphones? We actually had to have money. That's right. We had to have quarters. And I think one quarter would buy you 15 minutes, 20 minutes to make that phone call to your girlfriend, your boyfriend. I remember working, and in between my work, I used to get a page from my girlfriend. And then right outside my work or in the lobby area, I used to be parked. Oh man, I used to put the coins in and then get on the phone and then try to keep my conversation private. You would have the collar up like this, and depending on how long the conversation went, you would like sleep in the booth and just like get all in your feelings and R&B love, and And that's how I used to talk to my girl. And then before you know it, I was just putting in quarters, and that thing would add up like $2, $3, and quarters in a payphone. That's a lot of money for back in the day. Who remembers high energy freestyle music? Johnny O, Little Susie, Jocelyn Enriquez, Noel. There's so many other Lisa Culcham. I mean, I'm leaving out so many folks because I want to keep this video short, concise. But who remembers freestyle high energy music, bumping that crap, right? Having lowrider cars or fixed up cars, whether you're an American into American muscle or into Japanese cars, whatever. But we took care of our cars, and car washes was our damn religion. Every Saturday, Sunday, whatever. I mean, we would spend a whole day once again having great conversations and car wash and great food and barbecue. It used to be a ritual. It brought the entire community together. We used to go to equivalent of, I forget what it's called today, but Kragen's. Think of Kragen's auto parts, right? We would go in there and get our gear, like all the wax, turtle wax, and all that. I said turtle wax. Oh man, we used to get all of that and just get ready. Like, my car is gonna shine the brightest. Will Smith did a song, Summertime, right? And so who remembers that song? That's during my time. That when we used to have to ask a girl out, we were shy. Like, I know how that's perceived at, but it was the biggest deal. And today it's social anxiety. Today it's known as social anxiety. I mean, I know that, but we actually had to make an effort to ask a girl out. Like, we would go to different lengths to ask a girl out, but I would say it came down to having the audacity that you had to grow up here as a boy, as a man, to know what it's like to approach a woman and get rejected. And the rejection would be good too. Like, it would be classy is what I'm trying to say. And sometimes you would have to go ask their parents. Don't let me get started about when I asked my crush to the prom and I had to go to a parent's home with my father to ask the girl out. Like, that's how proper it was. So asking someone out meant that there was a lot of courtship, there was a lot of screening, a lot of work was involved. Like, you had to show up once again to do the work, to ask her hand, to go to the prom, to be my girlfriend. It will make it official that I would love for you to be my girlfriend. Like, that's how it used to be. We were outdoors a lot more. We played more. We played till the sun set and then some. But deep down inside, we knew that we have to be home at a certain time. We used to have this invisible curfews, and we knew that if we don't get home at a certain time, our parents would spank that behind. Like, we would sometimes we would take a risk and say, F it, you know what, we know we're gonna get thrashed. We might as well just have a great time and pay for the consequences. Anyway, when we get home, we would get slapped. It wasn't just one hand, it was a combination. I mean, our parents would like bam, bam, bam. I mean, it was like we had to defend ourselves, getting in different kinds of positions and stuff, and if my mother back in the day, she found a spoon, a spatula, a wooden hammer, whatever it is, she would come for you. I mean, we would be running around. This was intense. We really like to be left alone. We value our peace, quiet, and happiness. We don't follow the masses and the agenda, whatever it is today, which is why I think it was critical for us to endure some of those tough times back in the day, to have the bandwidth and the ability to think for yourselves and realize that we're brainwashed today, whatever this is going on. And it's a lot of craziness going on in today's society. We have the knowledge and experience to say that's BS. We call it, we don't make it known, we just keep to ourselves. And we think for ourselves. We do enough just to get by. And if we are living a good quality of life, that's money for us. Otherwise, we really don't care what's going on in general in the masses, because in my opinion, I don't believe in almost all of what they're trying to push down in today's narrative and agenda. Who remembers the airport? I remember airports used to be a thing. Like, we would go as an entire squad, a group, a family, whatever, to drop someone off at the airport. If there were family coming out of town, if there were friends coming out of town, I remember calling each other up through our landlines at home and saying, hey, we got to drop so-and-so, today. It was great So when someone came to visit you from afar, from like, a tourist or a visitor out of town, out of the country, it used to be a big deal. And so how we treat them and how we bid farewell was also a process. But we would still sit at the airports because we would love to enjoy the restaurants and grab a bite, and we would stay there hours after someone had gone, or we would show up early at the airport so we could enjoy and take in the atmosphere. I still love today being at airports. It was a kind of a ritual, like a pastime, seeing planes land, take off, and we would watch for hours and hours and hours, deriving great pleasure just from the simplicity of all of that. When we threw parties, whether it's a house parties were fun, but when we threw parties like celebrating a birthday party, 16th birthday, 21st birthday, wedding celebrations, and engagement ceremonies, graduation parties, we didn't see all the vulgarity and the exposure of the body, right? It was suggestive, and we had our versions. But I will tell you, whatever vulgarity or exposure for back in those days, when we thought that was extreme, brought that into today's culture, that was PG. What you're all doing today is disgraceful. You're selling yourselves, basically. The young woman of today, is that way I see it, is just disgraceful. I mean, that's all I can say. And you wonder why men are choosing to sort of not get married, and no one wants to wipe these girls up. I don't blame them. Let alone the laws, American laws. But I'm not going to go there right now. I'm going to park that discussion for another day. Because we didn't have the internet, it made us into who we are today. Today, we have OnlyFans. I can't judge. It's the times that we're in today, but I can't relate to that. We didn't have OnlyFans back in the day. We had no internet as such. The technology wasn't this advanced. So it really forced us out of our shell to make an effort to get to know each other. And we had qualities and traditional values that brought a man and a woman together. And that's why people stayed in relationships a lot longer. It was easier. Was there infidelity and were there problems and all? Every era has all of these, but today it's extreme. We have OnlyFans. I mean, what man is going to want, what traditional man or a Gen Xer like myself will want to wife someone out there that's selling themselves and their values and their quality and monetizing it? Why bother? That's how us Gen Xers see society. That's how we see things. That's why things have changed for, I think, the worst today. And it's only going downhill. We used to value education where it actually meant something. Today, it does not mean much. If you're putting yourself out there the way you are, then expect the same treatment, meaning that you're not going to be taken seriously. That's just the reality that you're fighting. If you do have OnlyFans, the young generation of today, the women, girls, right? You're fighting that, right? That I can have it all. No, you can't, because men have chosen, they have spoken, and it's by their actions. We're not getting married. Marriage is not a priority anymore in today's generation and this climate. I don't blame the young men of today. I do not at all. If I were them in this generation, I would not be getting married. Anyway, I hope you had you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Gen Xer here. Salute to my fellow Gen Xers. And you know how we do this. Subscribe, like, comment. Mamba out.